There's a shocking judicial development in Guyana that has legal and political analysts wanting to know what in the world is going on. It has everything to do with the restructuring of the top offices in the judiciary or courts and the apparent ousting of Justice Yonette Cummings-Edwards, who has been serving as acting Chancellor of the Judiciary since 2017.
Today, Madam Justice Yonette Cummings-Edwards, CCH OR, requested my approval to proceed on pre-retirement leave with effect from Monday, 27th of October 2025 and on early retirement. After due consideration, I acceded to this request.
Did Madam Justice Cummings choose this path because the alternative meant she would have to settle for less than she's worth? Opinions are divided on whether Cummings voluntarily opted for early retirement or was forced to do so because the alternative options could have been devastating to her career. And by that we mean being asked to resign or get demoted. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Final Takeaways podcast. Let's continue. Since 2017, Justice Cummings has held office as acting Chancellor. Then came the news that she's leaving, quote-unquote, early retirement, says the government. Interestingly, we haven't heard this directly from Justice Cummings herself. Instead, President Irfaan made the official announcement to the media on Friday. Of course, people take and leave jobs all the time. But this is no ordinary job, and the circumstances surrounding the situation have sent critical minds into overdrive. To put it simply, some people aren't buying the explanation for why Cummings is leaving the judicial system way ahead of the normal schedule. Suspicions grew after Ali's administration consulted with Aubrey Norton, the leader of the APNU, to promote Justices George and Navindra Singh by appointing George as substantive Chancellor and Singh as substantive Chief Justice, respectively.
In these circumstances, Madam Justice Roxanne George Wilshire will continue to act in the office of Chancellor of the Judiciary and Justice Navindra Singh in the office of the Chief Justice.
And if you don't know, getting substantive means you're no longer acting in that position. You're permanent. You're now a big deal, like a really, really big deal. You're 100% legit. You get the drift. Let's unpack the basis of what is turning out to be a scandal. A few months ago, Justice Cummings-Edwards went away on extended but authorized employment leave with plans to return to work on October 15, 2025. To keep things running smoothly in the judicial system, Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George was appointed to take over Justice Cummings' duties temporarily until her return. Naturally, Cummings expected to resume her role as acting Chancellor once she got back from leave. Similarly, Justice George would then resume her duties as the acting Chief Justice. Instead, what we actually got was a sudden announcement that she's retiring. Her last official day in office was Friday, October 24, 2025. It's not sitting well with a lot of folks. Justice Cummings-Edwards has been in the acting Chancellor position for about 8 years. Naturally, she's next in line to be appointed or confirmed as the Chancellor of the Judiciary. Of course, she's not entitled to be promoted to Chancellor, but things do happen. Shifts occur in workplaces, policies change, and so these changes can cause someone to no longer qualify for a certain position or be replaced with justification, of course. Perhaps the person's performance level dropped or some type of conflict of interest arise. In some cases, your boss no longer values your services, and then, you're suddenly fired for some odd reason. Or if you're lucky, you're asked to resign if they have some type of advantage over you. They call it workplace politics, which might just be what's going on here. Social critics and supporters of Justice Cummings call it suspicious Tell us in the comment section if you believe something else is going on here. Why hasn't Justice Cummings announced her retirement herself? Why does President Ali have to be her mouthpiece? Here is why this claim of early retirement sounds cooked up to some people. Justice Cummings just returned to office after going off on 2 months leave. Tell me, who goes on leave and then returns only to request pre-retirement leave followed by early retirement? Here's what we're told actually happened. Upon returning days ago, she was met with an ice-cold reception. What had happened was she was no longer welcomed. No one, absolutely no one, had to tell her. The scene and the tense atmosphere said it all. According to news report, Justice Navindra Singh, who should have moved over for Justice George to return to her usual office, stayed put. He allegedly decided to take up permanent residence in Justice George's office. So where would Justice George go? If no one is moving back into their respective offices, then where would Justice Cummings go? All acting appointees were supposed to move back into their usual roles to allow Justice Cummings to get back to her desk. Well, let's tell you what an inside source says. She's actually being forced to vacate her position so that the administration could have its way. Could it be that the administration was negotiating terms Justice Cummings felt were unfavorable to her? Did she then find herself in a tough position and therefore opted for early retirement to protect her integrity? Or was she told to proceed on early retirement? Or else? You tell me what you think. The Vigilant Political Action Committee, VPAC, blasted President Ali for seeking agreement from former opposition leader Aubrey Norton on the 2 new appointments instead of consulting with the incoming opposition leader Azzuddin Mohammed. To VPAC, this is an ill-advised move by the PPP. It creates the appearance of political bias, not only in choosing Justice George over Justice Cummings, but also in selecting Singh for a substantive appointment. This, VPAC says, gives the impression that Ali's government is making these moves days before Mohammed is expected to be sworn in as the opposition leader for one main reason, and that is to protect its political interests within the judicial system. In a statement published on social media, VPAC says, among other things, that, quote, the present situation in which the president is suddenly moving to fill these posts substantively only days before the new parliament and opposition leader are sworn in creates the impression that constitutional appointments are being managed for political advantage rather than institutional stability. Such conduct, again, adheres strictly to the letter of the law, but offends the spirit of meaningful consultation and shared responsibility for the judiciary's independence. So they're speaking to the concept of judicial independence, which means that judges and other members of the judicial system are supposed to function independently of politics in order to promote fairness and transparency. Up to the time of producing this video, Norton had not agreed with Ali's intention to promote George and Singh. According to news sources, Mr. Norton reminded the government that APNU stands by the original arrangement, which was that Justice George would return to the post of acting Chief Justice while Cummings would resume her usual role as acting Chancellor. Norton's comments came at an APNU press conference at the weekend. So, what really happened with Justice Cummings? Why is she suddenly ending her judicial career? The final takeaway is this: something ain't right. Something ain't right. Be sure to turn on notifications for this channel to receive updates on this breaking story. Here's what's coming up next.